not disappoint.
No, I'm doing the live on YouTube. Let's see. I don't remember if yeah, I think before it just like went right into live. With Facebook, I have to put in description and everything. All right. Oh boy. Okay. We'll close that out. I hope it still records. Okay. Um, okay, looks like we're live. Yay.
Yay.
All right. Welcome everybody to this month's Gen X Book Club as we review Stephen King's Misery. And before I go on a monologue like last time, I'll introduce our host as Del Rayleigh
Hello.
and Suzanne Matamodi,
Hi.
fresh off her European tour.
Yeah, wow.
Wow, making us legitimate here.
Well, it was fun. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that it was definitely book related. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So would you
book
like to
fair.
like, tell us about your adventure? That is so cool because you were promoting the book that we covered on here. So
Yeah, once
yeah.
in a lifetime. Well, I was then pushing a couple of other things. I've got a collection of short stories that are
Hmm.
coming out. So yeah, I got together with a group of other authors that we've been doing things together over the course of the year. The And I Thought Ladies and Manville Publishing and Deborah Franklin Publishing. So we all got together and we got a booth at the book fair. And this is like the biggest book fair in the world, I think, once a year. There was in like 7 buildings worth of book fair. Um, so I got to speak to people from all over the globe, like Tanzania and Russia, and you
Wow.
know, in addition to people, a lot of people from Germany, a lot of people from the UK, just people all South Africa, just like everywhere, people from everywhere, just stopping by to either, well, we got pitch services a lot, so I understand there's a lot of like back and forth where I'm pitching you and you're pitching me, and which one is doing what, I don't know, but but then there's also a lot of people who come in the middle of the book fair. The public gets to come, and then you're talking up your work and getting to discuss the 80s and such from my novel, and get some new readers in different parts of the globe, and
Mm.
so it was really pretty cool. It was very interesting. So
Now, do your books get translated into?
well, the reason that you go there is to try and hook up with people who might do that, like translate the book and
Mhm.
then sell it in different languages and such. So I spoke to one woman who has an agency that does that, who seemed a little excited about once in a lifetime, so I sent it to her. And hopefully she'd be able to then, sell it in UK, sell it in Germany, sell it in Asia, sell it, in different markets, and get translators that they work with, which is kind of weird. Like you start to contemplate, well, if somebody else is translating my book, like what is it going to sound like? Like how good are they at translating? Or that like I work so hard to like put things in certain ways and use certain phrasing and have the language have a certain rhythm, and okay, so now somebody's going to write it in another language that and it's not me writing it, it's somebody else. So
Uh-huh.
it's strange to think about how these things happen, but hopefully there are people who are good at literally translating the feeling of books as opposed to just doing a Google translate. So
Hmm.
Mhm.
Right.
well, we'll see what happens, but it was interesting to kind of think about how that might work.
Hmm. That's so
Was this
awesome.
part of your plan when you wrote the book that you wanted to try to go internationally, or I'm just
uh
curious
I
what your,
wasn't, yeah, I don't know that I was thinking that far in advance, only because
yeah,
it's the first time I've done this. But in getting to know different writers at different conferences and such, you learn about different avenues to take and
yeah.
such, and you get more immersed in the process in the publishing industry. And it was a kind of like a fun writerly thing to do in addition to, the pitching and the selling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spent a couple of days in London beforehand just to have fun because I mean, if you're going to go all the way across the ocean, you might as well take a couple of days and see a few other things. So that was fun too. Because I realized that I lived in London in college for a little while, and I realized that as we're, driving around in taxis trying to get to the theater district, blah, 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 I realized that I knew where I was. Like I knew
Hmm.
where we were going and connected the dots between like what I used to do back and forth on tube stops. Like I knew the city kind of underground from when you pop up and you're in one place, etc. But driving around, I realized, geez, I know where I'm going. It wasn't just a dream I
Wow.
had. I know where I am. So that was kind of neat.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thanks for all
But
the posts too. That was fun to
yeah.
kind of be there with you in a
Oh,
way. Yeah.
oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yep. Enjoy that.
I don't
Did,
know. It felt like it went really fast.
yeah, yeah, it did feel like it went fast. Yeah, yeah. Do you think Jess would be jealous that you went?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. But we have yet to see the cool things that Jess does with her life. So
Right. Yeah, yeah. To be continued.
absolutely.
All right, that's so awesome. All right, and then
Yeah.
and then this month we covered Stephen King's Misery, and it was for October for scary month. But yeah, we're a week late because yeah, I did Marine Corps Marathon last week. Ooh, that's another horror show. Well, not really horror, but
Yeah, but big news on your end too. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, a little unexpected thing. I didn't realize that there's a bridge at the 21-mile mark, and if you're not over that bridge by 1:15, they close it to the runners. So then you're forced to take the bus back and you don't finish. And I was around the corner from that bridge at 1:22, so I missed by 7 minutes. So I ran
boy.
20 miles. Uh, but I had a really bad back flare up injury in the middle of my training. So I missed 2 months of training. And then I ran on a Saturday. And then a couple of days later, I had COVID. So then I was out for another couple of weeks. So I basically had 2 weeks of training for the marathon. And I had to start over again. And I still ran 20 miles, over 20 miles. So yeah, I'm happy about that. And yeah, I'm doing it again next year. So I'll be able to do it next year. I have a running coach that's helped me, so that I think that was a big key into going as far as I did. And I have a personal trainer, Adriana, and we actually just recorded a podcast earlier today for Inspiring Journeys. And we're working on my core so I don't have any more of these back flare-ups. So I'll be ready to go. And I'm also proud of the fact that I know a lot of people when they run marathons, they they're like can't even move for like another week or two after that. But I was better within a couple of days, and I'll be running again this week, so start back
That's
up again.
awesome.
So yeah,
Awesome.
Absolutely. 20 miles.
yeah,
Yeah.
Wow. I'm not going
yeah.
to ask
That was something.
how much further there was to go on that. That's you.
Yeah, like just 5 miles.
Mhm.
It probably would have been another like maybe a little like an hour or so, maybe. So
Wow. So you did a
yeah,
lot though.
yeah. If they didn't close that bridge, I would have been able to finish. So that was like another thing. If it was a Boston Marathon or New York or Chicago, I would have been able to finish. But because they had that cutoff,
Hmm.
Mm.
and even if I knew about it, I was going as hard as I could, as long as I could. So I still wouldn't. I did the best I could. So that yeah, it wouldn't have made a difference if I knew it or not. And it did take me like a half hour to get to the starting line because there was so many people doing that race.
Wow. Wow. It's all very impressive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can,
Seriously.
can
I
you guys hear something in the background?
I don't.
Okay.
don't think so.
No.
All right. I got some noise going on. I don't know if
that are scary things happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, uh-oh.
You're here
There's like
hearing.
music playing.
I was watching some creepy stuff right before getting on this podcast,
Is
and I
it the
jumped.
is is it the voice of Annie Wilkes that you're hearing?
Oh
Is that
God.
It could be.
yeah?
Well, if it is, she's singing, and that's
Oh,
even
okay.
Oh
scarier.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, back to the task at hand as we easily get knocked off track.
Yeah, but it's fun.
All good.
Yeah. We're talking Stephen King's Misery, and it was originally published on June 8th, 1987. And then we'll also touch on the movie, and that was released on November 30th, 1990. And all right, this is gonna distract me. Hold on 1 minute.
Yeah, was watching some Netflix program on haunted houses with some drowned woman living in her house and scaring the hell out of the new
This
occupants, and a little boy being taking over a closet, and just
My gosh. This was
yeah.
earlier today?
Yeah, it was like
Well,
right
that
before I got on.
that puts you in the mood.
I
Wow.
know. I kind of like these creepy stuff, but then it just really gets you after a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just let my imagination get carried away.
Did you figure it
well,
out, Paul?
yeah, well, I don't know what started it. I don't know what the root cause was, but uh my what are those? It wasn't Alexa, it's the Google version, like those
Oh,
speakers. And it
it
just
was
started,
talking.
yeah, it was playing music out of nowhere.
Ooh.
I have my phone, like things in here. I don't have anything. I didn't cast anything to it or anything. So, all right, yeah. So we're off to a good start.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
appropriate. Too bad it wasn't scary. It was some kind. Well, it was scary. It was some kind of uh, what is it? The electro pop stuff. So,
I'm probably trying to sell you something.
yeah. All right. So. Anyway, yeah, so the book was released in 87, the movie 1990, and I hadn't realized that Rob Reiner was actually the director of it.
Hmm.
So,
I didn't
and
realize either.
yeah, and it starred, of course, James Caan and Kathy Bates. And yeah, and I had originally said that the movie followed the book pretty good, but there definitely were a lot of differences. And yeah, I feel like the movie wasn't as scary as the book. I felt like I don't know, it was like in a kind of like an abridged version. So if I was gonna, I mean, the movie's good, but if I was gonna recommend one or the other, I like the book better. I don't know your guys' opinion on that. Um,
Uh,
well, first I should say I originally read the book. It was like in paperback, but I was in the Navy. It was definitely before the movie. So I feel like I read um it when I got to stationed in Oakland, and I that was like one of my favorite books of his. And then after that, then I read Misery on paperback. So that was around 89 and 90, early 90. Um, yeah, yeah. So when did you guys first read the book, or was this your first reading of it?
I read it a long time ago. So I went back and read it again. I like the book better, but I like the movie. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's not like one
Right.
is, yeah, but yeah, they definitely go into a lot more detail and it's a little, I don't, gore is not the word, more violent maybe than the movie is, even though that scene, which we'll probably touch on with the
mhm.
sledgehammer, is hard to. I can't even watch it. I got to turn my head, so I can't imagine
Me too.
if they did
Even though I
what
knew it
they
was coming,
yeah,
I
yeah,
still couldn't watch it.
yeah. But if they do what they did in the book, I definitely could not watch that. So I just can't do that.
Mhm.
Mhm. What
Yeah,
about you,
I didn't.
Suzanne? Mhm.
I didn't read it. I never read it before. I did see the movie years and years ago. I don't know if I saw it. I don't think I saw it in movie theaters. I think I saw it once it came to, cable or whatever was going on at the
Hmm.
time. And I at the time I thought it was a good movie, but I didn't remember all that much of it because it's been so long. Um, and it's really kind of claustrophobic. Everything
Mm.
just happens in one space, basically. And in fact, I think the book is even more claustrophobic once you read that because, yeah, you said it does follow pretty well, but they do add in scenes from the outside world that didn't
Yeah.
occur in the book.
Hmm.
Which, as you know, before we started recording, I was mentioning that I took a look at the book thinking I could just blow through it, and it's nearly 500 pages, all happening in one room. And I started to think to myself, all right, this is going to take a little time. It's going to be a little more of an experience. Uh, but I'd always loved Stephen King, but I did
Mm.
stop reading after a while. Um, just because I don't know, the books got longer and longer, and some of them started feeling similar. And I don't know, I kind of then went out off to college where I was assigned things to read, and so I fell out of being an avid Stephen King reader after a while. But I read all the early books, so
Mm.
and I was always just he blows everybody away. Even
Yeah.
Yep.
he blows everybody away. His language and his ability to really put you in somebody's head. Which, if you have a book like this where there's
Mm.
just two central characters, that's it.
Mm.
Then there better be something interesting going on in that guy's head. Otherwise, you're not gonna stick with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot more flashbacks of Paul. I was trying Paul Sheldon, trying to think of
Yeah.
it. But yeah, just his journey of writing the misery books and that, which they don't really touch on too much in the movie.
Mm.
But yeah, the very condensed version of the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point too, Suzanne, what you brought up with the Stephen King, because I read some of his early stuff. Like I read Salem's Lot probably way earlier than I should have.
Same thing. I was
Yeah.
stealing those books from my mother when she didn't know it,
Yeah,
reading them at like
exactly.
8 years old.
Exactly. That's what
And
happens. Yeah. In the 90s, I don't know where I saw it. There was like an advertisement for a Stephen King book club, and I got like this. So I joined that. It was kind of like Columbia House, except
oh,
there was Stephen
yeah.
King
Yeah.
books,
Hmm.
and you got this skeleton keychain with it. And so then every month you would get a new book, and if it was like a new release, you would get that. Otherwise, it would go in order of when his books were released. So I forgot
Mm,
what book was new when I first did it, and then like the next one was like Carrie, and then I went through all of them.
mm.
But then I think the last one I got was The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. So yeah, then after that I kind of like fell away from that. So yeah, so I haven't read anything, too recent, except for what was he just did one like the bunch of short stories. What one was
Oh,
that?
yeah, I haven't bought that one yet. Something about you like it darker, I think it's called.
Um
His new short story collection. Did not read it. I read Dr. Sleep, I think. I think I got all the way through Dr. Sleep.
mhm.
That's the only new one that I've read.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So,
wanted to catch up with Danny Torrance and see what happens.
right, yeah. Yeah. And I think that I haven't seen the movie either, but I think that's on
The movie's
HBO
good.
Max.
Mm.
Yeah.
The movie's good. Yeah.
Because then I think I watched the Misery. I think Misery was on Max. I lose track of all these things.
Yeah, I
So,
had to buy
yeah. Oh,
it.
really? Yeah.
I had to buy it.
Yeah.
But we'll rent it. But
Mhm.
it was worth it. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. But as far as being in the character's head,
Mhm.
I felt in the book a lot of his motivation came from the fact that he was in so much pain,
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
which I don't think you got the same sense of that in the film, where you're
Yeah.
not hearing how much he's just absolutely, excruciatingly aching. He talked a little bit about, getting the drugs from her, but it just seems so much more urgent in the film, and the way that he described it by,
Described it. Yeah.
yeah, remembering being at the beach with his father and the tide going in and out and being able to see the pylons.
Hmm.
And when the tide went out, the pylons came up, he was in pain again. Um, So you had real, like, in his mind, you had a real vivid marker that he would keep bringing back to us, uh,
Mhm.
to explain that he's back in that, that world of pain, which, just was horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in the movie it was I just want to get away from her. Like
Yeah.
I want to get back to my life. And yeah,
Mhm.
you didn't pick up on the fact of how much pain he was in.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and then I don't remember in the book. Maybe I missed it in the book or something, but in the movie, it sounded like Annie was stalking him, and that's how she came upon him. But I didn't get that impression in the book. I felt like in the book she just happened to she was out, but I could be wrong about that.
No,
But
no, no. I noticed that too. That I don't remember hearing that in the book either. They did add a few details in the movie that worked well. They made a lot of sense. Like, maybe, who knows, Rob Reiner and Stephen King had a talk and he said, hey, you know what? Annie knew that he was in that hotel and followed him home. Because, I mean, think about it. It's just coincidence that she happens to be behind him during a blizzard. Well,
yeah. Hmm.
that made a lot of sense. Maybe that was something that just wasn't written into the book, but was actually part of the process of creating the book.
Hmm.
But that I was like, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That works.
Yeah,
All right.
that actually makes more sense to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they made a point of saying that he always goes there to write his books, which I don't think was mentioned in the book version either.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, and like we had mentioned getting his head in the pain and everything. But then also in the movie, it seemed like the part when she spilled the soup on him in the movie, that was different than in the book, because then in the book she like threw the when that happened, she threw the bowl and broke it against the wall and said, "I didn't do this, you did this." Like in the movie, she's apologizing that she spilled it, but in the movie, she was more in the book she was more like psychotic and off the
Yeah.
rails, like right at the beginning,
Yeah,
and yeah. But in the movie, it seemed like it was more gradual and it was like more obsessive and the it was
I think, yeah, I think in the book it seemed a lot more clinical. Like, he
mhm,
noticed the moments that she just totally shut down, like sometimes in the middle of a sentence, and would
mhm,
just stare off into space. And I guess he was recognizing that as a certain type of psychosis, or whatever it might be. I'm not a doctor, but he seemed to realize fairly quickly that there was
hmm,
something clinically wrong with her, not just, I'm an obsessive fan, but there's she's, you know, something's
yeah,
yeah,
missing that nobody's gonna be able to fix.
mhm,
So
yeah,
that
yeah,
was that was scary. She was more frightening, I think, in the
in the
book, on
book.
the page.
Mhm, yeah,
definitely.
yeah. And yeah, to Dell's point, like you get in his head, but not only about like his pain, but with the you know him like processing what's going on with her, and yeah. So yeah, so that psychological tension, I was like, yeah, that was really intense in the book. I just felt like it was more intense in the book. And also with the talking about another thing that got more in his head in the book was how much he despised Misery and how he wanted to, because the Misery was a series of books that he wrote, so he was kind of pigeonholed in that, and he just didn't feel like it was like his serious art. But of course, it was like the most popular thing, everybody loved it.
Hmm.
But so then he ended up killing off the main character, Misery, so he can move on with the series and everything.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, that resonated a lot with me. I mean, as
mhm,
a writer, absolutely. Uh, because once that thought process started happening in the storyline, it took you out of just his head. Like, it wasn't. I went into this thinking, okay, this is him and her. This is, a battle of the wills, and everything is just going on in that moment and in that room. And he was a kidnapped victim.
mhm,
But it was more than that. It was him struggling, like you're saying, with he wanted to be a real, serious writer, have people take him more seriously. And he ended up writing what he was viewing at that point as a schlocky romance story that, made him fairly well off, but he felt like he got away from Misery to write this other book that he thought was wonderful.
Yeah.
And she made him burn in front of him. She kind of burned it, but she made him participate. And back in a world where you had to actually sit and type on paper, and that was the one copy that you had, unless you went down, to Staples and had somebody physically duplicate it for you. This problem could never happen today because, of course, everything's backed up and it's in the cloud and it's on your drive, and it's not wrapped up in a briefcase in your car. But in any case, it was more about his journey, where by the end, him writing this other, this is a spoiler if anybody hasn't seen this movie, but it's been out there a while. In the end, he's forced to write the new Misery novel where she is brought back to life, and she has to be done so in some kind of believable, reasonable manner. And in challenging himself to do that, it became this gothic, almost like a Stephen King book.
Yeah.
Became this gothic kind of horror period piece that I think in the end he felt was better than the Departure book that he wrote about the car thief. So that came out of that experience. In the end, I think it maybe both. It turned out that because of everybody knew this terrible experience brought about this book, it sold like 10 million copies or something, or they were predicting it would. So, it made him a multimillionaire and brought him further in his career as a serious writer, and he's up for these prizes and this kind of stuff. So that was unexpected on my end. So I hadn't read it before, and it added a whole different dimension to this whole story.
Yeah. And it's like that for a lot of artists. Like with this, it happens with music too. They come out with songs, and then everybody just wants to hear that one song, and it's kind of like the same thing with his book and everything. But right, yeah, he was forced to come up with this, and then he had type it, and then it was a broken typewriter, had a missing N in it. And then
it was quite the source of frustration.
Yeah, because N is pretty popular letter when you're writing a book. But and then in the book, it had like there were chapters when it had his actual story, had the Misery Return story in it, and then you could see like the ends were written in. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get the old style courier type. Once again, this was a whole different era as far as producing a book where you're typing, you didn't have 10 billion fonts and formatting, and you couldn't even I remember being a teenager and saying, oh, I want a typewriter where I can type in italics, I didn't even realize that there was no such thing. You typed and you underlined to indicate that something was supposed to be italicized once it went to print. And it's not until I came out with electronic typewriters, I think, where you could actually write in italic, type in italics. So
yeah, that's a good point. I totally forgot about that.
I forgot about that too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, from typing classes, you had to learn how to format, and yeah.
My Smith Corona typewriter. So yeah. I think that was the brand, wasn't it? Smith Corona?
Yeah, you had to really punch out those keys, and it made all this noise, and it was just a whole different experience.
Yeah. And then and so I think it was like with the older typewriters, you actually had to do the return key thing to bring it
slide
back.
the thing over.
Yeah, if you didn't have the automatic
classes
Yeah.
back day.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they thought all women were going to grow up to be secretaries. You sit there in class, D,
Yeah.
and you had to throw throw the thing in a ring a bell, and
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. And even back then, you had to do the double space after the period, but you don't have to do that anymore. A
Yeah.
lot of kids these days don't know that. And a lot of us older people, Gen X people, don't realize that you don't need to do the double space anymore.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
funny because I think Microsoft Word sometimes will correct it back, or maybe it's Outlook. I know one of the programs I've learned, I've trained myself not to do that. It's hard to get rid of that kind of habit.
mhm.
But one of the programs puts the other space back in. It's weird,
Yeah.
but in any case.
Uh, uh, what one cool thing I remember when I read the book long before they even came out the movie, but then when the movie came out, Kathy Bates was like perfect because when I read the book, that's exactly who I pictured, and I didn't even know who she was then. I think this is kind of what kind of put
Now,
her into popularity.
the movie hadn't come out at all when you first read it?
No, no,
Oh, wow.
yeah, 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 because it was
Because,
around 89 to early 90. Yeah, because looks like when this came out in November of 90, and that's when I was in the Gulf War. So
mhm,
yeah, and I was
okay.
still in Oakland. Yeah. So it might have been late 89 when I read this. Yeah, yeah. But she was like exactly who I like, yeah, that's who I kind of pictured, and I didn't even know who she was then. So I thought that was perfect casting. And then I think she went on to win an Oscar for this too. So yeah,
Yeah, that's very neat.
yeah.
I don't know. And watching, like, of course, I remember her from the movie. I remember that she won an award. I still think it was a really good performance. But now after reading it, I almost feel like Kathy Bates was almost like too attractive to be the Annie, the
Yeah, yeah.
horrifying woman that
Yeah.
they described in this
Yeah.
book. Like I was picturing someone almost like more beady-eyed and you know, doughy faced. And I don't know. It's not like Kathy Bates was a beauty queen in the movie or anything like that, but she almost looked too nice, like
Yeah,
I
looking back. Yeah.
yeah, I almost was thinking to myself, no, no, it should be somebody a little bit more crazy looking.
So she seemed like a little bit more like sweeter in the movie than in the book right from the get-go. She just had moments, but like in the book, yeah, she was like more psychotic more of the time than she was nice. But
Yeah, I would think so.
yeah, but yeah, she just like looked so much. Of course, she was younger then, but you realize
Mm,
like how young she was when this came out too.
I
So,
IMDb sometimes puts if there were other people up for the role, and I don't see
uh-huh.
anything
mm,
on Kathy Bates, but they said that Jack Nicholson was offered the role of Paul Sheldon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
hmm.
So that that would have been
Yeah.
interesting. But they did say Stephen King liked her performance so much that he cast her in Dolores Claiborne, sorry,
Mhm.
and The Stand. She's got a small part in that movie,
Oh, I didn't
miniseries.
realize that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to remember who she was in The Stand,
She
but I
was
haven't seen her in a while either.
the radio talk show host that
Mm,
was like
okay.
calling. I don't remember exactly which, but they basically, I think the military or government raids the station studio and they end up killing her on the air or something. So she's not in there very
Oh
long.
God.
Uh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. Sorry, sorry. There's always some violence around Kathy Bates, but yeah. Yeah. But now you watch her and she's this sweet little old lady on Matlock. So, I don't know.
I didn't even know that existed until like maybe a week or two ago.
Yeah.
I saw a commercial for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I read too that there's a series and I can't remember what the name of it. Uh, but anyway, that Annie Wilkes is a character in that series it was two
Oh,
seasons.
Castle
Oh, right,
Rock.
right.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I
yeah,
watched a couple of episodes of that.
yeah. So I'd be
And
curious
was
if
it
that
like
was.
it was supposed to be a young Annie Wilkes, maybe?
I don't
Um,
know. Yeah, I
I'm
haven't
I'm
seen that.
trying to remember. I think it might have been like the story started and Annie Wilkes was a young nurse,
Yeah.
Oh.
maybe.
Well, And not to, again, no spoilers here, but what I read said that the last episode, she and her daughter are in line to meet Paul Sheldon at a book signing.
Oh.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So again, if maybe go back and see some, storyline about her in her early years or whatever. But yeah,
Mhm.
so didn't know that existed.
Yeah. Um, oh, another cool thing in the book, apparently this is the same universe as The Shining, because there's a reference to the Overlook Hotel.
Oh yeah.
I caught that.
Yeah, because was it some guy that she met that she took in that I don't know, she fell in love with him or what. They had a relationship either way, but he was kind of like a scammer, and I guess he was supposedly like drawing the Overlook Hotel or something. Yeah.
Hmm.
Was that the same setting for The Shining? The same?
Yeah, in Colorado.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
mentioned the same towns. I know they mentioned Sidewinder
Yeah.
a lot in The Shining as being the town at the bottom of they would have to drive down to Sidewinder.
Hmm.
That Sidewinder was like the nearest area of civilization,
Mhm. Yeah,
Well,
so
I can
that's
hope
really
that
cool.
comes up in trivia night sometime.
Yeah, there you go.
The crossover between the two. Hmm. Did not know
Yeah,
that.
Well,
yeah.
Stephen King, I think, is pretty consistent with a lot of his colloquialisms and settings, and even like we said, Castle Rock. I think is mentioned in various books,
Hmm.
and I believe it's the setting of the Dead Zone. So you're
I
usually
think so.
either in Maine or in Colorado,
Yeah.
at least in the earlier books.
Hmm. Yep. Um, see, I do have some notes. Let's see. And the isolation was, yeah, that just was so claustrophobic in the book. Yeah,
Completely.
yeah,
Yeesh.
you could really feel this. That's why I think like the book was more powerful, but the movie was fun and yeah, and with the police coming over, that was totally different in the movie. In the book, that was more
Oh,
violent in the in the book.
yeah, yeah, that was pretty horrifying.
Yeah,
The movie was violent enough. The way
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that had the sheriff there. That he was kind of like a central character in that too. He was like our exit out of that room because then that we were following him and
I know. Didn't you kind
it,
of feel from the beginning though that he had to be a red shirt and we
yeah, yeah.
they're gonna sacrifice him at some point?
Yeah.
You're just like,
But
no, no, don't open the door.
yeah. He's
Don't
like
do it.
Herman Munster from Pet Cemetery. He was like another one of those, like one of those
Yeah, yeah.
situations. But
Yeesh.
He has a name. The actor, everybody calls him Herman Munster.
yeah, Fred Wynn. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, and I didn't realize, I totally forgot that Cliff Clavins' mother was in this too. So she was the sheriff's
Oh,
wife.
that's right. Yeah.
That's who I
Yeah,
know her
okay.
as. Yeah. Yeah. And oh, Lauren Bacall was the agent, his agent too. Yeah, so they had like some extra characters in the movie. Not many, but compared to the book, yeah, it was like a
Yeah.
bigger
Yeah, like I
bigger
said,
outside
that
world.
they did let you know what was going on in the outside world.
Mhm.
And in fact, another thing that was in the film that I don't recall in the book is that she claimed, Annie, meaning Annie claimed, when she's talking to Paul, that she had contacted his agent, that she had contacted his daughter.
Mm,
And for a while, she maybe had him thinking that, everything was going to be all right. The phones were just out. But
yeah.
none of that pretense was going on in the book. I think he just knew from the
No.
start that there was something wrong with her. She was crazy and he was stuck with her. And
Mhm.
what was he going to do? there was no even mention of a daughter. I don't know if it mentioned anything other than he
No.
tried to be married once.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember if it mentioned any kids. Yeah, he might have. If it did, but he wasn't. If even if he did, he wasn't trying to contact or
Yeah, he
he
wasn't
didn't
saying,
ask
"Oh,
for
my
the
daughter's gonna wonder where I am." So,
right. Yeah.
but I think it did. I think it did add to the narrative. If you
Hmm.
couldn't be in his head all the time,
Right.
maybe you needed a little bit more to hold on to as far as what he was thinking and doing. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Add a little more attention to knowing that she's, being deceitful and all that. And and yeah, like I've just mentioned that there was a younger cop that came first and
yeah,
false arm and threw an ashtray through the window and got the cop's attention, and that was his demise. Again, Paul murdered the cop, not Annie. So
Right. Yeah. It's all his fault.
yeah, that's what
yeah.
she said. Yeah. Meanwhile, well, she killed him with the cross off of the grave she made for her cow, and then
Hmm.
ran him over with a
With the
lawnmower.
lawnmower, yeah.
Then ran him over with a lawnmower. It's just horrifying.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just horrifying. But then you know what, as you go forward, you know what she's capable of.
Hmm.
And he learns more
Yeah.
and more of that as he goes through her little scrapbook of obituaries and such.
Hmm.
So it just gets creepier and creepier.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another thing in the movie. She knew that he got out of the room because it showed him knocking the little penguin over, and then they made it obvious that he put it back the
Yeah, that he
wrong
put it the
way.
wrong way.
Yeah,
Come on,
but
Paul.
she's crazy. Crazy people would
Right.
notice something like that,
Why would
but
you put the penguin facing the
face
wall
the other
instead of
way.
face
Yeah,
outside? How's he not
opposite.
going to be able to see? You gotta think.
But but like in the book, I think he like the wheelchair was kind of narrow to fit through the doorway, and so he kind of scuffed the doorway. So
Hmm.
it wasn't too obvious, but for her, she would have seen that. And then went through the details how he went to get like the medicine because he got out of the room, and then he took the medicine, and then he kind of like moved the boxes around to make it, so it wouldn't look
Hmm.
obvious that stuff was missing and everything. But yeah, he didn't seem as careful in the movies. But yeah, but you can really feel the tension, really feel, how he was trying to be careful not to get caught and everything, and look
Hmm.
around and all that. But yeah, and then that was one of my favorite parts of the book was when he was going through the scrapbook, and you learning all about Annie's history, her past of what she was
Hmm.
doing, but even from the time she was young, she was probably most likely responsible for the deaths of some people and everything. But
Yeah, and
in the
somehow
movie, you
maybe
kind
proud of it because she's saving
of
all this
she's saving them.
memorabilia. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. But you don't really see like the too much of the detail. It kind of like skimmed over a little bit. I mean, you got the idea in the movie. I guess you couldn't really focus, but in the book, I just loved that part. Yeah, and he couldn't he couldn't put it down.
Hmm.
But yeah, little do we know that it was booby trapped.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I don't know because I think there was an insinuation that she was uh her imagination was she was a little delusional, and she insisted that he had been upstairs because she
All right,
saw
at
that
that
the
point, yeah.
hair was gone from that. Instead of little threads she put her own hair, but he obviously had never been upstairs. He
Right.
couldn't get the wheelchair up there. So I'm wondering if any of that, she just left it out because some obsessive need to once again show him what she could do to him if she wanted to. So,
Hmm.
I have to wonder about whether there was a booby trap or not, or she just imagined it all.
Hmm. Yeah, because it didn't really, show it in the movie. Yeah, I think that was another difference in the book too. I don't, in the movie, I don't think she accused him of going out so many times. and he only went out 3 times, and that was like a big argument about that.
Oh
And then
yeah,
they said,
yeah.
yeah. So I think that
Right.
was more in the book. Yeah. So yeah, no, all these really intense scenes, they weren't in the movie. So yeah, like I felt like that was more of like a Rob Reiner. It felt like more of a Rob Reiner, like more audience friendly.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Could be. But he's a terrific director. I didn't
Oh
realize that was
yeah.
him directing either.
Yeah. Yeah. And he did do Stand By Me, so another
Right,
Oh
which
Stephen
is
yeah,
King.
Stephen King also.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So like if this was directed by like Stanley Kubrick or something, then it might have been like a different movie. Oh, yeah. And
Anybody kind of see the irony of in at the end of The Shining, in the book he has a mallet, in the movie he has an axe. But here they kind of flipped it where in the book
oh,
she has the axe
Oh,
and in the film she has a sledgehammer.
yeah.
So I found that a little weird that they would decide to make those changes, like just I don't know, to appease the audience or something. One Stanley Kubrick wanted it to be more bloody, and maybe Rob Reiner wanted it to be a little less graphic, I
yeah.
guess. Because that I wasn't prepared for what happened to his foot. I just was not.
Yeah.
That was bad. That was bad.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
I
Like
wasn't expecting that.
well, like I said, I read the book first, so then I thought she was gonna have the axe, but then I saw it was like the sledgehammer, so it didn't seem as bad. But even that scene, like leading up to that in the book, it was more of a lead up and having a conversation and everything. You knew something was going to happen because she had drugged him and all
Ugh.
that. Yeah. And even like on the book covers, like the original book covers, it shows like a silhouette of her holding an axe. So that was like a main part of the book. So yeah,
Yeah.
so it's kind of a weird thing that they would
what
change that.
I don't remember. Was it both feet in the book?
No.
Yeah, I thought it was just
One.
one, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, but she does both in the movie.
Yeah. And
Okay.
Yeah, with the
actually,
sledgehammer.
Uh,
little behind the scenes when I was reading that part, I was flying on my way home from Washington D.C. and my left ankle was killing me.
Oh,
My my my, my
I can't
cockadoodie
read
ankle.
gory stuff. Yeah, no,
yeah.
the oogie ankle.
And Annie
I
could have
can't
taken
read
care.
creepy stuff on a
Yeah.
plane. I have to stay calm.
Annie could have taken care of that for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was
Ah,
thinking. I saw, where is she now, man? I
Yeah.
could use her.
but you
Uh,
still have the phantom pain though,
Oh,
and
that's
the
true.
itch.
oh, jeez.
But it's all better now, so I'm glad she wasn't there. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, it wasn't just like one swipe that she had to take on that either, so it didn't like
Oh
all
my God,
the way.
that was horrifying. That was the worst. And once
Yeah.
again, because I had seen the film a long, long time ago, uh, I didn't make any assumptions about that. I didn't realize it had been softened for me
Yeah.
in the film version, and just to
Yeah, it
know,
just shows the
just
foot.
the language he described about the foot, the
Yeah.
toes still moving, and the him noticing his birthmark or something from
Oh,
across
right.
the
Yeah,
room.
on his
That was
foot when
just
he's yeah.
Hmm.
ah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was brutal in the book. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
interesting because it was, the book as we talked about is more violent, but that was a time in the movie like gore and all that was a big deal in the horror movies back then, and I'm surprised that they toned it
It's true.
down the way that they did.
Mhm.
The lawnmower thing that we talked about, like if you go back and you watch Christine or some other Stephen King Cujo or whatever, like it's total violence, and I'm surprised they
Mhm.
cut that out and went with something else.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a thought.
Yeah.
Not that I wanted to see it, I don't, but I'm just, yeah,
Yeah, kind of
it
surprised
just
that
yeah, that that
they
that
went
was,
that way. Yeah.
with Freddie and Jason and Michael, like all that stuff going on, and
That's
that was
true.
all those movies were big, and it was because of the violence.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and then she even did the right ankle in the movie, and it actually didn't even show that. It just showed that she was starting to swing, and then it showed his face. It didn't show her
Yeah,
hitting
that's
the other
true.
ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
even that they had cut out. Yeah.
and as we talked about, I looked away, so I have no idea what happens during that scene.
I did too.
Yeah,
I did too.
I just
Couldn't
wait
do it.
till the screaming's over, and then I look again. So, mm.
but it happened pretty quickly in the movie. And like I said, like in the book, it was like a lead up to it, and you just knew it was just this tension building. You knew something was going to happen, but you didn't know what. And yeah.
Well, I felt like
Oh,
the book burning piece too was, or the manuscript or whatever you want to call it, like that was there was a lot of build up to that. And in
Mm,
the movie, it seemed like it was just really quick, like you're going to do
right.
this, and it was over. So, but maybe that's just, how things happen in books. You have to build things up a little bit more.
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah. And maybe like the time constraints or whatever in
Yeah, yeah.
the movies and all that. And then I think in the book she also cut his thumb off too, didn't
Yes,
she?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
yes.
she wasn't ready for that either.
Yeah.
Just such
Love
a
your face. You can see
seminal
it.
feel, like an animal's gonna come and bite pieces of you off. This is what was going on.
Mm,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, when that's happening, yeah, if it like a typical Stephen King thing, it feels like she's the monster. She's a monster instead of like a crazy person. She's like the
True.
evil monster. Yeah.
Right. I saw like parallels between this and Cujo actually,
Mm,
because just that was just like this wild animal, and you're stuck in this little space and you can't get away. And um even, similar to The Shining, where they're stuck in this hotel and they're snowed in and you
mhm,
can't get away.
mhm,
Just that isolation, I think, and that inability to escape your circumstances is that's a big Stephen King thing. He does it very well.
mhm. Yep. Um,
Anybody think it was
yeah.
ironic at the end when she gets it with the typewriter? Is that
Oh yeah.
thought that was
That was great.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's all he had to work with, though.
yeah.
Mhm.
And let me tell you what, that typewriter, I believe I bought my daughter the same model typewriter. She asked for a typewriter. She's a
Oh.
writer also. Um, it's from 1920.
Oh
Mm,
wow.
Um, and it's like 80 pounds.
wow.
I don't know how you would pick it up over your head and toss it at somebody, but
Yeah.
you would kill them.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
it's that moment where like people can lift up cars. They just all of a sudden have this strength
Yeah,
that
yeah,
comes
I
out of
guess so.
nowhere. Maybe
And he
it's
did say, at least in the book, he said, and maybe you saw it a little in the movie too, he used the typewriter to build up his arm strength when she wasn't
Right.
looking.
oh yeah.
He used it as
Yeah.
a weight. But that, I mean, well, I guess maybe for men it would be easier to pick the thing up over your head, but I couldn't do it.
Hmm. Yeah.
I wouldn't be able
Well,
to do it.
yeah. Well, in the book, he threw it across the room and hit her in the back with it. But I think in the movie, did she was right? They didn't he like hit
Oh
her
yeah.
with it? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he whacked
Right in the
her in
yeah,
the
head.
head with it.
yeah, yeah. And then,
Yikes. Get, getting the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
The whole
I
thing.
actually I could watch that scene because she deserves it. So yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I think that was more brutal in the book too, the way it was like feeding her
Yeah.
the pages.
Putting the
Ah.
yeah the burning pages, shoving them in
Hmm.
her mouth and everything. And yeah, and then like he had like her mumbling and talking and yeah. So like I said, I don't know if I said it on here before we started recording, but I was listening to it while I was reading it. So I was listening to it on Audible and I was reading along with it. And so and the author she sounded a lot like Kathy Bates. So
Mm.
yeah, so she did a really good job. Like she did Paul Sheldon's voice too, but she sounded a lot like her. So she's making the rah, rah, rah with she sounded like her. Yeah, so that was that was definitely a lot more graphic in the book too with him. But
Yeah, and
giving her a
hateful. You could.
comeuppance, but yeah, all the stuff she put him through and everything. Yeah. And yeah, and also in the book, it didn't mention this in the movie, but the the typewriter eventually lost its T and
Right.
E, I
And
think,
it
too.
was falling apart. It's like how they're writing all the letters, like it's like it's in some kind of code. But but even before we get off that ending where he beats her up and feeds her the pages,
Mhm.
she still doesn't die.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And you don't find out until they get into the kind of the denouement of him being taken away from there and talking to his agent, that the officers found her. She had crawled out the window, went to the barn, and had taken down the chainsaw that she was going to bring back to
Yeah.
chop him to pieces, which was just quite unmerciful. But she did die, there in the barn with her hand on the chainsaw. It just, they left kind of no stone unturned. But I think that made it that much easier to have the kind of imaginary horrific ending that she saw in the book, where he was convinced that Annie Wilkes was in his
Sure.
apartment and
Mhm.
was dreaming that she was chopping him up again, and it just, would never end. I almost felt like the last scene of the movie was a letdown compared to that.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Um, she ended up dying from her head hitting the typewriter. It was just a delayed reaction. But yeah, even when he
Yeah.
was trying to get away from her in the book, she was like grabbing him, and even her fingers are going underneath. He closed the
Right.
door, her fingers are going underneath the door and everything. Yeah. Yeah, like,
Mastery. This is really
yes. Hmm.
masterful book grand storytelling going on. It's
Yeah,
horrible.
definitely. Yeah. But what's funny is in the book, what he had, I think they gave him a prosthetic foot because it got chopped off in the book, and they said
Mm.
that it was actually better that it got chopped off because then he would be able to walk without a limp. But then, ironically, in the movie, it didn't get chopped off, so he's going to be probably walking around with a cane the rest of his life. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think they made a couple of little ironic statements there at the end where she made him a better writer.
Hmm.
She kind of, I think they said, did him a little bit of a favor by completely shearing off the foot, like you're saying, because then they could create the custom prosthetic for him
Yep.
to reduce the limp that he had. I don't know how anybody who went through what he went through would, ever be walking again, but
Hmm.
it's fiction.
Yeah.
But in any case, I think they kept trying to say, and Stephen King, kept trying to say in the end that even though he went through this horrible experience and she was nuts, she still taught him things and made him a different slash slightly better person than he was before in certain ways, which is weird. You don't want to give her credit for something like that, but she
Right.
kind of did. She kind of did,
Hmm.
even in the fact that she refused to accept his first version of the new story
Right.
that just said, "Oh, look, Misery's not dead after all. She's here in her bed and looking gorgeous and blah blah blah." So, she wouldn't let him cheat.
Yep.
She was
Yep.
nuts, but she was a good writing coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you think he was trying to say something with that about, maybe agents or the writing industry, kind of like forcing him, 'cause, I don't know, with his own personal, dealing with.
Maybe. I don't know if anybody in the writing world is treated better than other people. It's probably Stephen King. But I
Right.
think
Yeah.
he was trying to make the book say something more than like you were saying, like a Halloween or a slasher movie or something like that. I think he was trying to give it a little bit more of an intellectual, component where
Mhm.
you learn something in the end.
Right.
there's
Yeah.
there's that arc. You learn something in the end about yourself.
Hmm.
So, and something good comes out of every experience, even a horrifying one.
Um, yes, I don't know if I have anything else.
I think we covered a lot of ground here.
We
Yeah,
did.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, yeah, I definitely recommend the book and the movie. If you haven't seen or
Oh
read
yeah.
either of them, they're
Yep.
both really good. Yeah.
And I'm going to go back and watch that Castle Rock too, just to
Mm,
see what that's like.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, and I'd like, yeah, yeah, I'd like to go back and read some of the books that I haven't read yet. Like it was the Dome, one of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Under the Dome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a series. It was a
Yeah, that was a
short-lived
series too.
series too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I never read that, but yeah, like anything post 2000, I haven't read. Like we mentioned, Dolores Claiborne. That was one of the ones that I got from that book club, and uh,
Nice to be able to sustain a book club all by yourself as an author.
yeah,
You just
yeah,
are the book club.
right, yeah. It shows how much work he had.
There's probably a James Patterson book club out there too, I would guess.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, seems like there's every month there's a new James Patterson book.
That's
Mhm.
true. I think he has assistants though that he
Yes,
uses
yes.
for
Yeah.
that kind of output. I don't know that Stephen King does that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like, actually, have you read On Writing, Suzanne?
I I have read it. I read it a long time ago. I think I read it in college.
Okay.
But it was wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because it's kind of like a memoir and it, teaches you to write. But yeah, 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 he seems to have like a really good routine. He writes so much a day and everything. So, and I guess and he's been doing it all these years. So I guess
Hmm.
he probably could, do all this output and everything. So.
Well, how's your writing going?
It's getting there. I've been doing more editing and podcasting than writing, but yeah, I'm working on my book, my memoir series. So yeah, it'd be nice. I'd like to
Right.
have like the first draft done by the end of the year, so another couple of months, and yeah, I'm probably a little more than halfway done with it. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Good,
that'll be
good.
exciting. So yeah, and I do love doing it. Once it's such an awesome feeling when you get in the zone and I don't know. It's kind of the writing reminds me a lot of like running. Like you do it by yourself. You get like when you're running, if when you get in the zone like that, you get a runner's high. When you're writing, I feel like you get like a writer's high.
I guess
The
so.
and yeah, and there are like running clubs that I can do. I run with other people, and then there's a writing club that I go to sometimes. So there's a lot of like commonalities between writing and running. So that's what I'm finding out. So that's pretty cool.
Some interesting parallels.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I love it, and yeah. Let's see. Yeah. So that was Stephen King's Misery, but yeah. I don't know if there's been any books of his that I didn't like. Like the Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, that was okay. That wasn't like one of my favorites,
I
but
don't know that one.
yeah. Yeah, that's another one that's isolated girls lost in the woods. Just left with their own imagination and everything. Yeah, um yeah, so that's another one you get inside the main character's head. So yeah, it he's really good at that. But
Absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, I'd like to get back to more of his stuff and my TBR list, my to be read list is probably like in the hundreds. So
Stacking up, stacking
yeah.
up. I just keep buying books and
Yeah.
buying books and buying books. And I just can't like I went to the book fair, I bought stuff. I'm like, what am I gonna
Mm.
read? Chinese poetry, yeah, let's do it. Okay, I'll buy it.
Hey, there's some good Chinese
I
poetry
can't,
out there.
yeah,
Really,
I
yeah,
don't
you'll
know.
enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a book fair.
Sounded good at the time.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, something different. Yeah, shiny objects.
Mm.
But there's a book fair here every December, Rhode Island for Rhode Island author book fair, and I've been going there, and I usually get at least like 12 to 15 books every time I go, and I'm debating maybe I shouldn't go this year. I still haven't read everything from a couple of years ago, so we'll see. I love books. uh, Speaking of books, our November pick. will be Brothers by Alex Van Halen, brand new book. And yeah, right. I think it's a memoir series about him and Eddie Van
Yeah.
Halen's a book, not series, but yeah.
And
So
you're
it's
going to
just
get him to join us next month, right?
Yeah,
That
let's make a pitch.
pull
yeah,
those strings and yeah, good. Yeah.
that
He's
would be
doing
a trick.
publicity.
Yeah. uh, yeah, that would be a trick. Well, we'll see. Well, if I don't ask it, it'll definitely be a no. So
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to
That's
ask.
true.
yeah, yeah. Still waiting to hear back from Andrew McCarthy, but
Yeah, oh well, match
Hey,
no. I was really gunning
you
for that one.
you never you never give up, right? Keep trying.
uh, all right, so yeah, Suzanne, you want to tell people where they can find you, get your book and everything?
Yeah, sure. Well, I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, maybe a little TikTok here and there. But SuzanneMattaboni.com, or there's a once in a lifetime novel.com site if you want to just take a look at the novel. And I'm also public relations director, so I'm out there everywhere. Just Google
That's awesome.
Google Suzanne Mattaboni, and you will have plenty to read. But in any case, the debut novel, Once in a Lifetime, is out there, coming of age fiction that takes place in the 1980s. So it's a great Gen X topic, and been having a lot of fun with it. That's me.
And she's also offering a used book on Chinese poetry. So
It's not used yet. It is unused. I will use it.
All right, Dell. Oh
Oh,
wow, yeah, yeah, like talking in both places at once now. So
yeah. I don't know how I
always
follow that,
happens.
but yeah, I've been on the air for 17 minutes now, so I don't know how I do it. I just do. But yeah,
Wow.
the radio show is the 80s at 8. We're on Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. both days. Different show every hour, so it's not a repeat, but it's four hours every weekend. Um, yeah, and I'm on right now. So for another
Wow.
42 minutes. So
Magic.
yeah, yeah, but definitely back next weekend with new shows and have a lot of fun with it. So we'll go through Christmas time, like probably the last week before Christmas, and then we'll be off for about 2 weeks. And but yeah, so we got a pretty good streak of shows back to back here for the next coming month or so.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that show so much. So
Thank you.
yeah, I definitely recommend checking that
Thank you.
out. So
Yep.
all right, and then you can find me. Let's see. Oh, I think I changed it to Gen X Journeys now on Instagram. I changed it, so it's just not relegated to 80s because now I'm doing a series on 45 movies that were released in 1979. So each day I'll post about a different movie. And then also is see Return to the 80s on Twitter still and well X, whatever that sideshow is. And also and then Return to the 80s at WordPress.com. And yep, so that's where you can find that. And then you can also find my personal page at the Roadrunner on Instagram. It's RHODE. So you can, that's where you find me personally and my running journey and everything. And also working, we kind of alluded to, I'm working on my memoir series, Journey of the Roadrunner. So I'll be, keep a track over there. So I'd love for you to follow me over there as well. And also Inspiring Journeys podcast. You can find me on there, and that's a lot of fun as well. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for listening. I'd love to thank you, Del and Suzanne, as usual. I love doing this with you. It's so much fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next month. And ooh, I don't know. Is that going to fall on Thanksgiving weekend, that Sunday? I don't know
It
if that's
might.
what.
Probably.
See.
Yeah. We're gonna
No.
we keep doing the week after the unless it's good for you guys that
Uh,
well we can
I
figure it
guess I'll
out
see. It
after.
might be in Florida, like the first week of December, but we'll see what we can work out.
The
Yeah,
the 24th is not Thanksgiving weekend. Thanksgiving is the 28th this year. So if we do
Oh,
it on that Sunday, it would
it'll be
actually be
before.
December 1st. So we'd have to do
All
it
right.
on the 24th.
All right.
I
Well,
think December
we'll
1st
see.
is good.
Yeah, I think so too.
Or
Yeah.
we can hash it out.
Yep.
Yeah, because then December's book will end up, going into January because I'm sure a lot will be like, because it's the New Year's, but we're in the ballpark. Yeah. Plus, it'll give us more time to read and everything. I don't know how many pages. Do we say how many pages this Alex Van Halen book is?
Uh, I don't
Yeah.
know, but so far most of the memoirs have been short.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one is not it's not long.
Yeah. They tend to be quick reads too. So
Yeah.
yeah. So this really, yeah, all the
Yeah,
ones that
lots of
we've covered.
pictures.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, thank you everybody for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye everyone.